Chapter 724, 3 against 1. Jangi turned around and retreated to the side of the training ground, and he said indifferently, "The others leave first." The people from the Black Robe Squad immediately left the training ground, and Liang Yu also left with Yang Xinxin. In the vast training ground, only Zhang Yi, Yi He and Yi He were left. "My time is quite precious, I don't bother going to the martial arts arena. I'll fight you here. Hurry up and finish so I can go home." Zhang Yi turned to look at them, his face expressionless. In fact, a two-world barrier had already formed around him, creating a defense with no blind spots. Yi He and the others glanced at each other. Yi He lowered his voice and said, "The three of us fighting him alone will definitely win. As long as he loses, he will have no face to continue being the team leader. By then, we might have a chance to use the Tengu squad to turn the tables." Xue Miao frowned, "But we don't know anything about this guy. And he might have obtained our information through the higher-ups. This is a disadvantage for us." Yi said, "That's why I want the three of us to fight him. If the three of us work well together, we have a good chance of winning against anyone below the captain level." The three of them cheered each other on and were determined to defeat Zhang Yi here and regain their pride. Even if they were expelled from the team, their reputation would still be good, which would make it easier for them to join other organizations. Zhang Yi watched the three people whispering and discussing tactics, and a sneering smile rose at the corner of his mouth. "Can we start?" After the three had finished discussing, their gazes locked onto him. "Do it!" Yi shouted. Lu Winghao struck first. His 5 fingers were clenched together, and he stabbed Yi He and Xue Miao in the waist. Lu Winghao, a special ability user. His body fluids can be turned into deadly poisons, or into potions that strengthen the body. As soon as the battle began, he first injected his 2 companions with to increase their physical arousal, which greatly improved their mobility, and even enhanced their senses by several levels. And of course, he himself was also maximally enhanced. After being enhanced, Xue Miao pulled a dagger with a blue glow from his tactical backpack behind him. A raging whirlwind surged around his body, enveloping the 3 of them in it. Zhang Yilin, on the other hand, did not move at all, and even leisurely pulled out his 2 silver pistols, the White Eagle, from another dimension. After thinking for a moment, he loaded them with holy silver bullets. Just as he was reloading his pistols, a gust of wind rushed towards him, and the entire training ground was filled with madness. The surging air currents even had a huge impact on his vision. Taking advantage of the wind, Xue Miao arrived in front of Zhang Yi in an instant. Xue Miao, a user of the ability to ride the wind, with the ability code, can manipulate the power of the storm and is good at assassination. In an instant, with the help of the gale, he reached the back of Zhang Yi. The dagger in his hand, glowing blue, stabbed fiercely at the back of Zhang Yi's neck. Zhang Yi didn't seem to notice, and without even turning his head, he didn't make any reactionary movements. But the next moment, the dagger stabbed into a void, and the tip of the dagger suddenly disappeared into the air. "Huh!" Xue Miao's pupils suddenly contracted as he sensed the danger. But his movements were too fast, and his entire right arm had already disappeared into Zhang Yi's strange space. No good. Xue Miao was shocked and hurriedly tried to pull away, although he didn't know what Zhang Yi's ability was, but his intuition told him that after entering that strange space, his end would be very miserable. But at that moment, a black muzzle was aimed at his head. Zhang Yi didn't even turn his head. After the huge muzzle of the White Eagle was aimed at his head, he didn't hesitate to pull the trigger. Damn it! Xue Miao gritted his teeth, and the fierce wind around him whistled even more violently. His figure disappeared in an instant, and when he reappeared, he was already tens of meters away. Bang! The sound of the gunshot echoed through the training ground, and the bullet hit the opposite wall, sending sparks flying. Xue Miao's eyes showed a hint of caution. A spatial ability? I can't even get close to attack, so how am I going to fight? He was an assassin, and his speed and strange body movements were his most advantageous weapons for killing with a single strike. However, Zhang Yi was the one who restrained this the most. His defense must have a flaw, I must find his flaw first. Xuemiao thought to himself. Jangi, however, raised the corners of his mouth and looked at the panicked Xuemiao, who had fled in a hurry, with a smile. That shot was just a warning. It was really close just now, so close that he almost couldn't help but kill Xuemiao. Instinctively, Zhang Yi was extra sensitive to attacks from behind. But before he pulled the trigger, he remembered that these guys would be trouble for him if they died. So he didn't use his ability to accelerate 20 times. Otherwise, within 7 steps, his gun would be fast and accurate. Xuemiao couldn't escape no matter how fast he was. Just a little lesson will do. Zhang Yi's heart softened for the rare occasion. Xuemiao immediately conveyed his thoughts to Yi He and Luinghao. His ability is very strange, it should be a spatial ability, my close-range attacks were absorbed. The other dimension had no ability to attack actively, and it was even more impossible to directly capture a creature. However, once one actively entered it, one's life and death would be firmly in Zhang Yi's hands. If it weren't for Xuemiao's prompt reaction, he would have already become Zhang Yi's prey. After hearing Xuemiao's words, Luinghao said in a deep voice, "Let me test him." He took out a dagger and quickly slashed open his palm. A bloody trail appeared, but no blood flowed. Instead, streams of blood mist flew out of the wound like a swarm of insects, turning into a red mist that then swept towards Zhang Yi along with the hurricane. Luinghao's own blood could turn into a highly toxic poison that would penetrate the intestines. It didn't need to come into contact with blood to be lethal, it only needed to come into contact with human skin to quickly penetrate and kill the other person. A red mist instantly surrounded Zhang Yi. Luinghao tried to use this method to test out Zhang Yi's weak points. However, Zhang Yi remained calm, slowly raising his hands, and the 2 white eagles began firing at their bodies. As long as they could not be killed, no matter how serious the injuries, the medical center in Blizzard City could save them. If they were disabled, they would be disabled. The red mist disappeared into Zhang Yi's other world without causing the slightest harm to him. However, the holy silver bullets, like streaks of light, pierced the storm and shot sharply at the 3 of them. The holy silver bullets, precise shooting, plus 20 times the speed boost, all kinds of abilities mixed together, had become a kind of super long-range killing move. Even advanced Delta aliens dare not resist this killing move head-on. Chapter 725, Absolute Defense. The silver bullets shot towards the 3 people, who quickly dodged. The speeding bullets were like a silver rainstorm, making it hard to defend against. Fortunately, all 3 had been enhanced with adrenaline by Luinghao, which made their reaction speeds agile enough. Therefore, they narrowly avoided the first round of shooting, but it was also quite embarrassing. Can't you find his weak spot? Impossible. As long as it's a human, it will definitely have a weak spot. Yi said with unwavering resolve. A dark shadow flickered beneath his feet, as if an evil spirit was waiting in the wings. However, at the moment, he had not found Zhang Yi's weak spot, so he could not act lightly. Doing so would only reveal his own cards. However, when Bailey Chongqing saw the scene, he shook his head helplessly. There's one thing they don't know, and if they did, they wouldn't be so foolish as to challenge Zhang Yi. Wu Di looked at him, "What is it?" Bailey Chongqing looked at Zhang Yi in the middle of the field, who was calm and collected, indifferent to whatever kind of attack he faced. He said slowly, "In the official information, Zhang Yi's ability code name is..." The abilities of these 3 people are like sending him food. There was only one way to break through Zhang Yi's ability, and that was to use absolutely powerful strength to break through the threshold of energy absorption in the extra-dimensional space at once. This would cause the dimensional gate to temporarily become ineffective. However, in terms of Zhang Yi's current strength, the only way to do this was for an extremely powerful user of a release or characteristic ability to be an outsider of the same or even higher level as him. This is the strength of a captain-level outsider who specializes in defense. Bailey Chongqing let out such a sentiment. Zhang Yi might not be able to kill his opponents when fighting them, but he was extremely difficult to kill. Zhang Yi's gaze was calm as he stared at the three people in front of him, and the bullets in his hand were fired mercilessly. The White Eagle pistol was mainly used for close combat and was more convenient. However, in terms of power, it was less than 1/10 of the Thunder Strike. However, Zhang Yi did not dare to use the Thunder Strike easily, especially in this kind of sparring with his teammates. He was afraid that if he wasn't careful, he would blow these people to pieces. Even so, Yi and the other two were in a dire state of disarray as they fled. Xue Miao's divine movement technique was completely useless against Zhang Yi, and even if he could get close, he couldn't find a weak spot to attack. Lu Yinghao's ability was even more useless. He could only release poison through physical means, and Zhang Yitian was immune to this method. Only Yi had not yet activated his ability and was waiting for the right moment. However, in Zhang Yi's mind, he had all their information. Yi, a Tai-based alien, had the ability code. He could kill using shadows, with a range of 300 meters. He could also use shadows to switch places with people. In essence, he was also an assassin. What assassins liked to do most was wait for the right moment. But if he was facing an alien who mainly focused on defense, then his abilities would become incredibly useless. Of course, they could always choose to run away. If this was a battlefield, Zhang Yi would not like to chase after the enemy. However, right now, they were all in a training ground as big as 4 basketball courts. Yi and the other two could not escape if they wanted to challenge Zhang Yi. Then they would just be 3 sitting ducks. From the very beginning, Zhang Yi had calculated everything in his mind. If he was not 100% sure of winning this battle, he would not have accepted the challenge of 1 against 3. Bang! 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 The light from the holy silver bullets continued to slash through the air, and the 3 of them were already exhausted just trying to dodge the bullets' trajectories. And the adrenaline was like a stimulant, an enhanced stimulant that temporarily boosted their overall abilities. However, the price was that after the effect wore off, the body would be in a very weak state. Now, Zhang Yi's bullets had forced them to overdraw their medication. Damn, there's no way to get close. And even if they could, they wouldn't know how to break through his defenses. What the hell is that kind of power? Is there really no weak point? The 3 of them had never had any contact with Zhang Yi before. Otherwise, if they had watched the match between Zhang Yi and Wu Di, they would have had some idea of Zhang Yi's abilities. In the eyes of Bai Li Changqing and Liang Yu and the others, this battle was very comical. The 3 of them were like 3 monkeys, jumping up and down to avoid Zhang Yi's bullet attacks. They were at a loss, and had no good way to defend against Zhang Yi. However, the amount of bullets in Zhang Yi's hands was too much to use up. He had Liu Karen and also controlled the vast resources of Tianhai City, which was equivalent to having an inexhaustible arsenal. Zhang Yi is releasing an ocean of bullets. Liang Yu covered her head and said helplessly, Zhang Yi was just wasting a whole ocean of bullets. His real moves, whether it was Divine Might or Void Spear, could instantly kill the 3 of them no matter which one was used. But now Zhang Yi was just using his gun against them, completely like an adult teasing 3 naughty children. She even felt a little sorry for these 3 arrogant guys. After 2 rounds of design, Yi and the other 2 felt extremely frustrated. But the speed of their bodies also slowed as the effects of the adrenaline wore off. Xue Miao was the first to be shot, and the silver bullet pierced his leg, leaving a bullet hole that was clear through and through. Ah! He let out a cry of pain, and his body collapsed to the ground. Zhang Yi aimed her gun at his head, and then shot him in the floor next to his ear. The smoke billowed, and Xue Miao was so scared that cold sweat poured down his face. No, 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 I give up, I give up. He just wanted to bargain with Zhang Yi for some benefits, and he had no intention of really fighting to the death with Zhang Yi. So when he saw the situation was not good at this time, he immediately jumped out and turned against him. Seeing that Xue Miao had surrendered, Yi and Lu Yinghao were also anxious. As the weakest member of the Heavenly God Squad, Lu Yinghao knew that the general trend could not be defied, and decisively clicked to surrender. Captain, I yield. I'm truly not your match. He raised his hands and obediently retreated to the sidelines. After all, the important thing in life is to be happy and have fun, right? Yi gritted his teeth and muttered under his breath, useless. Beneath his feet, his shadow randomly twisted and deformed, and then by using the position interchange between the human body and the shadow, he precisely avoided Jangi's barrage of bullet fire, round after round. Jangi couldn't help but admire him a little. This guy was worthy of being a mid-level member of the Heavenly Squad. He really did have some skills. Jangi, although here you used the rules to your advantage. But in the battlefield, can you keep hiding there and not come out? If I were to run away, what would you do? Yi sneered as he saw that he could not find Jangi's weakness. He was still unconvinced. He thought Jangi was taking advantage of the geographical advantage. However, he did not understand that a true master knew how to make good use of everything around them.